Hello, this is going to be a quick video about using the MLDrums for your mixes if you don't have like the latest um, drums like Get Good drums or the robot drums and the mixwave drums kind of on a budget. You could just use the ML drums that are totally free from ML Sound Lab. They do a pretty good job at getting a nice mix. I have something that I've been writing for Matoka's Ghost that I'll use as an example. It's pretty dense because of the two left and right rhythm guitars and harmonizing guitars and then like a lead guitar, and it cuts through just fine in my opinion. I'll play the mix first and I'll get down to the details. So it's not bad, right? At least in my opinion, it's not bad. Um, so here, well, before I get to the mixing, when you could already see it's just EQ and compressor, and their stock too. I'll show you how to kind of set it up. So once you pull it up, it'll look like this. You go straight to the mixer, and you're gonna have to look out for processing that's already done by default, and then just turn it off. The reason is that because you will eventually just have the tracks split out into your DAW so you could process them with your own plugins. So you're gonna have to look out for like EQ that's been done, and I think saturation is placed on all of them, so you're gonna have to turn them down, and then you're gonna have to take the compressor threshold and turn it down. And I also like my drums hyper realistic, quote unquote, where there isn't a lot of bleed into each track, and I kind of just have the snare mostly, if not just only the snare, going into the room sound. And you can achieve that with this knob here where it says room, so you can see everything. Well, there's a little bit of toms going into room, but you can see that everything's at -20 because that's the lowest I could only set in this plugin. And then room is like, for the snares, a little emphasized. And same thing for the reverb track. It's about -12 going in. Everything else is like basically off or at the lowest, so you can't hear it. And then finally, I have the bottom snare at -8, while the top snare is at 0. I don't like a lot of bottom snare in my snare sound. I need just enough to kind of get that crack in the high end. So once you're done setting up, just save it as a preset so you don't have to worry about it later. And for the mix, it really is just EQ and compression taking 80% of the way there. For the kick, I have high pass at 60, and then like some bell curve to take out like low mids and mids to take out some mud, and then some high shelf boost and a bump at around 2000s to emphasize the click and high end. And this is how it sounds. And then compressor, 4:1 ratio, 30 milliseconds attack, pretty slow attack, and then the fastest release. About 5 dB of gain reduction. So the EQ just cleans it up, boosts the nice characteristics of it, and compression to emphasize the punchy character. And you'll notice that I'll probably have the same compressor on the snare and the toms. Oh, why is the reverb here? Should be right here. So snare, same exact settings. And these are the toms, same exact settings. I just copied and pasted it. It just worked out that way. Sometimes it just does work out that way because this is, you know, like virtual drums. You won't get as lucky at real drums, so you kind of have to work a little bit harder, use your ears. But here's snare, very same, just cleaning up, but you could see like a crazy high boost at 7.5k at 22 dB. It just needed that much because it's very dark, and I'll play it without this shelf boost. Yeah, it's a dark snare, so it needs a lot of boosting, as much as you can get away with, in my opinion. And some boosts around 2500, and it looks like 4500 to kind of emphasize stick attack, and then kind of a little bit more high mids to make the snare cut through, and a little bump at 180 to kind of give more thump in the low end of snare. And then we have these nods that kind of like have like the honkiness, boxiness of the snare, which I'll kind of pull up one by one. So yeah, gotta turn that down, but not too much, or else you'll lose the character of snare. A little bit of that character is needed, so it kind of needs a more narrow Q value to kind of just surgically cut however much you need that is kind of getting in the way of the mix. And again, compressor, same settings, just mess with the threshold to get the sound that you like, and should make the snare a little bit more punchy. It's clipping a little bit, but it's fine. And then for the toms, so the toms are grouped together, which is not ideal, but it still works. I set the high pass to like where the floor tom, which is will provide the lowest frequency, kind of peaks at, and then I just kind of have this general subtraction to get rid of mud in the toms. And then the boosts are very similar to the kick, this high shelf and this 3K boost. And I'll play that. Oops. So it cleans up the low mids a little bit, and then again the compressor to make it sound like it's being hit hard. And then I have the hi-hat, which is just set and forget high pass at 1K, which is what I do for all the overhead tracks. I just like the way it sounds at cutting it this high up, and a little boost at 12.K. Should be similar to the overhead. There's a 1K high pass and a high shelf boost. Nothing in the right because I didn't write any parts for that. And then for the compression and overhead, a little bit faster attack, and then some medium-ish release. Oh, sorry. And you can also make the cymbal sound a little bit better by humanizing a little bit with kind of like a randomization function in your DAW, where you can randomize. Excuse me. I I could have it like about 5 ticks, so it's very like not super obvious. But if you zoom in and I press quantize, you can see that it offset off the grid a little bit, and I'll show the difference. So this is completely perfect on the grid. And this is a little humanization. The difference is subtle, but you can tell. And then you can humanize it even more by kind of randomizing these velocities, you know, like hard, soft, and then kind of just messing with it a little bit to get a little bit more realism. And I do think that the MLDrums has this function here to make it a little bit more humanistic. Moving on to the room, basically like kind of just getting rid of low end and low mid mud again to kind of just enhance the sustain of the snare and add more body without, again, the low mid buildup. You don't really want a lot of low mid buildup on your mix. It'll just be a very, very muddy mix. So here's without. So it cleans it up a bit, and then compression. Just bringing up the body and sustain of the snare. So with just snare by itself, and then with the room, it just sounds a little bit bigger. And the idea is the same with this reverb track. I only have a high pass on it, just at 100. I didn't feel the need to subtract any low mids. Not in this case. Anyway. And again, compression, not as heavy as what I did in the room, because I don't really want it smashed. I want the same idea of emphasizing the snare size and the sustain. So, just a snare with the reverb, and then with the room and reverb. And then here is the snare without the room and reverb with the full mix. And then with and lastly, we have the drum bus, and it just has a compressor. Very similar settings, 4:1 ratio, 30 millisecond attack, fastest release, and I did have some makeup gain compared to the other ones. I don't know what's up with this compressor, but it is, even though the auto makeup gain is off, it's still like giving some volume compensation. But this one, the drum bus compression needed a little bit more addition to the makeup gain. So this is just the drums. So you can see the drums are much more emphasized, or more punchy, glued. I think I hear the room and reverb are even more sustained. It just sounds pretty good. Um, and that's it for this video. Hopefully, this gets people kind of giving MLDrums a chance if they were thinking about buying something like Get Good Drums. If it's kind of a little bit too pricey for them, they could get started with MLDrums, and it could kind of pretty much take them for a while before, like, like something like getting Modern Massive. Like, I have Modern Massive. I love Modern Massive. I also have other ones like the P4 and the One Kit Wonder, but I usually default back to Modern Massive. I don't really know if I'm gonna get Modern Massive 2. I'm just so very used to how the drums sound here. But yeah, I hope this video helps, and I'll also link the MLDrums in the description. All right, see ya.